Yo, what's up guys? You got pokeaim here with another Pokemon Sword and Shield moveset video guide on how to use Stunfisk, how to use Galarian Stunfisk. And this mon is pretty interesting. Well, I love the way they showed it in the game, how it was like a Pokeball underground and when you walked over it, you know, it would come up like a trap. So I thought that's pretty cool and I love the way its design is. Not a big fan of its ability Mimicry. Now, it makes sense for a Pokemon that is, you know, pretending to be like a bear trap or anything. It changes the Pokemon's type depending on the terrain. And I mean, you see that this Pokemon does, as I've already mentioned, adapt to where it was. But the reason I don't like this ability is because it arguably makes Stunfisk weaker. Since Ground and Steel has some pretty solid resistances, obviously. You know, an immunity to Electric is a big one, resistant to Fairy. There's Bug, and there's others. There's others, right? I'm just not going to name them all. I'm just giving you some at the top of my head. But when you have Mimicry, right, and let's say you're in grassy terrain and you transform into a Grass type, well, now that U-turn super effective, and now that Flying type is super effective, you know? It doesn't matter about the Fire weakness, but I think that the other big thing that was my issue with it is the fact that they didn't give it a move to abuse the Mimicry ability, right? Like, it doesn't have some sort of attack that changes straight up typing with the Mimicry, that's Stab, right? Like, what I think they should have done was kind of like the Aura Wheel way they did it with Morpeko, and basically have a physical Steel type attack, right? A physical Steel type attack that changes based on the terrain. So maybe it'd be like 70 or 80 base power, kind of like Iron Head. And then it just changes to, you know, Grass type in grassy terrain or Fairy type in misty terrain, you know. So I think that would have been really nice for Stunfisk, especially because it has a higher base attack stat than it does special attack. And it doesn't really have a good physical ground, good physical ground it has, but a good physical Steel type attack. Like, its best Steel type attack, I'm pretty sure, is like Metal Claw. That's not a good move. That's not a good move in my opinion, right? But it does have a few little things, and I think it does face competition from Steelix in the tier that it's in. But access to Stealth Rock is a big thing, and one of the things that it actually has over Steelix is the ability to Thunder Wave the opponent. So the first set we have is a mixed defensive Stunfisk with the role of setting up Stealth Rock, and then Earthquake is your stab. And then Thunder Wave is there. Now, the reason we have Thunder Wave is because this Pokemon will invite in bulky water types. It might invite in fighting types. Just because it's not very strong, right? It's not very strong. Its attack stat's only 198 without any investment at all. And even though Earthquake is a very good move, it's just decently weak. We do have leftovers for the recovery. And then, again, we have that Thunder Wave with 252 HP and 88 defense EVs. We actually live a close comment from Passimian after Spike. And that's a pretty, you know, common fighting type in the RU tier from my experience playing like 40 games in RU so far, so just from what I've seen. So this allows you to tank that, and you can go for Thunder Wave to cripple them. Passimian is typically Choice Scarf, so crippling a Choice Scarf user, a Pokemon that's typically used to revenge kill and whatnot, I think is pretty cool. And that's something that Stunfisk could do. And you have Sucker Punch for priority. It also allows you to hit Pokemon like Rotom that would otherwise... It allows you to hit Rotom that would otherwise, you know, avoid the Earthquake. Just giving you some chip for the most part. I think the last move can be pretty much anything, just looking at its move pool. Like, Stone Edge is also a valid option, potentially, over Sucker Punch, but just that extra chip might go a long way. Typically, when you're using this set, by the way, and, you know, I'll just go into partners, because I already talked about, like, a few things, but typically when you're using this set, I think Wish support is important, right? Like, Vaporeon plus Stunfisk sounds really solid. Aromatisse plus Stunfisk also sounds pretty solid too. Vaporeon obviously resisting the water type attacks coming out at Stunfisk, and Stunfisk taking the electric type attacks that come out at Vaporeon. So they work really nice together with that synergy. And just being able to pass really fat wishes to Stunfisk is really nice, especially because Stunfisk has a really huge HP stat. Which is nice, but it doesn't have reliable recovery. It does have access to Pain Split. The Pain Split isn't so great on a Pokemon with such a high HP stat, because for the most part, even if Stunfisk is at 50%, it's still over 200 HP, which would be, you know, if I went for Pain Split, chances are I'm giving them more HP than I'm receiving, right? So because it shares and slices and gives it back, so I don't like it too much. So I think Wish support is better. So something like Aromatisse or Vaporeon is a really solid partner. The next set we have is a special defensive one. And I mean, a Stunfisk can check Pokemon like Alcremie, it can check Whimsicott, it can check Indeedee, so it's decent at that sort of thing, and especially defensive, I think, is, like I said, its bigger role. And one of the things that it can, again, do over Steelix is Yawn. So Yawn is interesting, especially when you couple that with Protect. Protect obviously gives you leftovers recovery, but it also burns that turn where your opponent is drowsy. So the idea of this set is to set up Stealth Rock, and if you can live a hit, or if you have a Wish coming your way, go for Yawn, and then go for Protect. Maybe they think they might try and go for the 2-hit KO on you, knocking you out with 2 moves, and then you get them asleep, and then you can proceed to Wish Pass to Stunfisk as it is. I think one of the cool things about being Ground Steel is that you have an immunity to poison, so I really love that. Unfortunately, the poison type in the tier is Salazzle. However, at full HP with the special defensive nature, you can take 1 Fire Blast from Salazzle and you can knock it out, obviously, with the Earthquake back. It has such a fat HP stat and a pretty decent special defense stat, so it's able to eat moves like that pretty big. But the idea behind this set is set up Stealth Rock and then spam Yawn. Honestly, spam Yawn. Yawn is pretty cool too, because if you set up Stealth Rock, Vullaby I think is one of the best defoggers in RU based on what I've seen as well. So that's a Pokemon that's not able to run heavy duty boots, right? It has to run a Violite because a Violite gives babies, or I say babies, but I mean it's true. But the not fully evolved Pokemon, it gives them a boost in special defense and defense. So being able to get up Stealth Rock and then going for Yawn as Vullaby comes in, Protect to block the defog and forcing Vullaby asleep is a really nice little case it does have. The next set we have is using a new move that I believe this Pokemon is the only Pokemon that has access to, which is Snap Trap. Now, Snap Trap is really interesting because it is basically like a Fire Spin type of thing, right, that doesn't miss. It traps and damages the target for 4 to 5 turns, and it's Grass typing. I feel like this move should have been a little bit stronger. Maybe even 60 base power, right? 60 or 70 base power. Let's say 70 base power, just not to make it too broken. Because a trapping move that has a lot of damage is broken. Look at Magma Storm. Well, you can't, not this generation. But Snap Trap is pretty cool because it allows Stunfisk to basically trap bulkier Pokemon. For instance, maybe a Milotic might come in on this, or Vaporeon, or a Aromatisse, because Stunfisk can't really do much to Aromatisse despite being a Steel type, and Aromatisse can Wish up. Or maybe a Pyukumuku or Quagsire. Well, Quagsire you hit for 4 times effective damage, though. It probably won't do a KO at all. But Snap Trap means that they're trapped, and what you could use is the combination of Yawn and Protect. So if they're trapped, that means they can't switch. You can Yawn, and then you can freely go for Protect in the next turn, and then put them to sleep. So it's a pretty cool signature move, and it being Grass typing is really nice too, because it means that I believe you're not, like, nothing is immune to it. I don't think that Grass types are immune to the effects of Snap Trap, but I could be wrong about that, but I'm fairly confident that I have Magma Storm Fire types, and they've been stuck there too, right? Like, had it been like a ground type attack, obviously Flying types would be immune to it. So I think this could have been something a lot better, especially because it's physical. But like I said, like a 70 base power move, and something that changes with the, like, starts off as a steel move, right? So it gives Stunfisk a good steel stab, but then changes depending on the mimicry ability. So I mean, just I'm sure there's some terrains you can use with it, right? Obviously, like Pincurchin plus Stunfisk could make it electric type, but then you're missing out on a few things. You're not weak to water anymore, which is pretty cool. So maybe that could work with Galarian Stunfisk. Unfortunately, though, it doesn't have like Discharge like its regular counterpart over there, like any electric type attack or any fairy type attack. That's what I'm saying. Like, they should have gave it something to abuse the terrains that it can transform into. But again, using Snap Trap to trap your opponent, then using Yawn plus Protect because they're trapped in to do so. You can't trap Ghost types though. Remember that. Ghost types cannot be trapped. Pokemon with Shed Shell cannot be trapped. And Pokemon that U-turn can still U-turn, or Volt Switch. Can't Volt Switch on Stunfisk though because of its ground typing. The next that we have is trying to use an offensive Stunfisk, albeit, I really want to say, I want to put emphasis, that's the correct word I'm looking for. I want to put emphasis on the word trying, but Stunfisk has, Edgequake, Earthquake, and Stone Edge is very, very nice in terms of coverage, right? That's some of the best coverage in the game when you have Earthquake and Stone Edge. Curse would obviously boost your attack and your defense. Maybe using this on Trick Room could work, potentially. But just in general, we went adamant on this, but I guess Brave is also a decent nature too if you're using it on Trick Room. But Curse, Earthquake, Stone Edge, and then Sucker Punch is nice to maybe for those Pokemon that try to revenge kill you. Like maybe if you're weakened enough and Rotom tries to go for a Shadow Ball, you can Sucker Punch it back, or just Ghost types in general. Just having priority as well. Base 81 attack isn't that bad, especially because it rounds up to like, well, it rounds up. It becomes 287 with a plus attack nature with max invested. And after Curse, definitely stronger. And obviously boosting your defense means that with its natural good defensive typing, can tank certain hits as well. So try and use Stunfisk as an offensive Pokemon is a really, really interesting take, and I had to put it on there because this is something I definitely want to try out in the future. I do think that the Stealth Rocking sets are just the best, period. I think those are just the best, period, no matter what you're using. But I think trying to abuse Curse is pretty cool. And like this Pokemon has a cool move pool in general, right? Like it has a good special move pool. Earth Power, Flash Cannon, Scald, Sludge Bomb, Steel Beam, but just doesn't have the special attack stat to really abuse it at all. Like had it had Discharge, sure, I'd put that on just because you could paralyze something. But yeah, moving forward into the final set we have over here. It's an Assault Vest set. Now, the EVs are actually the same as the Thunder Wave set, specifically because of Counter, right? Counter actually works with an Assault Vest, even though Assault Vest only works with attacking moves, because Counter is considered an attacking move, despite it only doing damage if you get attacked by a physical attack. So, the set is Earthquake, Snap Trap, Sucker Punch, and Counter. Now, even though from the Assault Vest, like we were just messing around with EVs, me and my boy Soul Gazer, we were messing around with EVs. Like we tried 0 HP and then maximizing defense and special defense, but then that made your counters weaker in terms of HP, right? Because counter, doubles the damage you're taking. So the higher HP, the more counter would do. So even if you're taking, 25%, right, from a hit, that's over 100 HP from Stunfisk, like already, right? So that's double to over 200. Right, so with counter, you do some massive damage with that, whereas if you have less HP, it's a 359. If they bring you down to 1 HP, sure, you're KOing everything in the tier, but it's more dependent. So 282 HP and 88 defense, I already mentioned. It lets you take a close comment from Passimian after Spike. And again, this one is still pretty good with Wish support as well. Snaptrap, I think, is good on an Assault Vest set because, the idea is you force an opponent to stay in, and then you can switch out, right? And then you can switch out, and this allows you to get that momentum, right? Like, let's say they go out to a bulky water on you, and you have, like, a Rose Raid on your team, right? Which is a pretty good teammate for Stunfisk as well. You have a Rose Raid on your team. They can't double. They can't switch out, even though they know you're going to go Rose Raid. So you just go hard Rose Raid on them as they're forced to stay in because of Snap Trap. Of course, after you switch, they're no longer trapped. Keep that in mind. But, yeah, Earthquake, Snap Trap, I've already explained why Sucker Punch is alright. And then Counter just lets you deal with those physical attacks. And then just can smack them back. But the Assault Vest also boosting your special defense. But that's basically all I have for Galarian Stunfisk. Not the best Pokemon, honestly. Really isn't. Needs a little bit of work. But hopefully with Game Freak or Pokemon or whatever, Nintendo, I don't know who necessarily calls the shots in terms of like everything, but hopefully they make it better going forward into whatever the new game, if it even comes out in the new game. But thank you for watching. Hope you guys learned something. Hope you guys enjoyed. In terms of checks and counters, even the Pokemon is supposed to check can eventually beat it, right? Like Indeedee can Calm Mind, Mystical Fire boost through it. Same thing with Alcremie, and Alcremie can definitely recover on it. Fighting types doesn't like to take close comments. I already mentioned that the EVs let you take a Spike plus a close comment from Passimian, but you take any extra damage, man, you're going down. But just basic cores like that, like fighting types and fire type moves. Strong waters like Vaporeon also don't care about it at all. But yeah, thank you for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye, my friends. Check out the Showdown Live. Oh yeah, check out the Showdown Live that I'll be uploading later today with Galarian Stunfisk. Goodbye, my friends.